Hello there. So I was cleaning up my .nuke folder and I figured out that rather than cleaning and fixing it, I should do a little rewrite, and I came up with this very package called Nuke Combina, which is a package to set up your .nuke folder, of course, including knob defaults, gizmos, and Python scripts. In addition to, it has also some utilities for other developers. Show you in a second. So let me briefly go through the structure itself. So we have some gizmos over here, which are just plain one folder to not extend the plugin path from Nuke too much. Then we have some icons. We have some startup, which is mainly for building Nuke menus, and the knob defaults. The knob defaults are currently stored as a JSON file in here. I'm working on a solution to save the knob defaults out of Nuke without doing any manual fiddling around with this one. This will be also happening soon. And then there's some more tools, which are just plain Python tools to work within the script. And there are some more utilities which are partly for developers, and some code snippets here and there are hooked up to menus right away. So in general, I try to separate it in different sections, and it seems to be working quite nicely. The top level is fairly clean, in my opinion. You do have some little description over here, what everything does, roughly. So every section of it, or every part of it, there is a wiki site, which has a little bit more detail for each node. So let's say I want to check Mandelbrot, so you get some screenshot and you get some properties, so give you a brief idea on what's this supposed to be. And for all the nodes or for the gizmos, there are also screenshots from the short description and some property screenshots. But now let's jump into Nuke and show what it actually is. So I have a CG render in here. I do have a dev path, so I can just, if I check what's in front, so this is this leg, and what's in the back, so this, I would like to add some haze, and I will just measure it. So it goes from 13 all to the back to almost 30. So, and then I would set those values accordingly, set them up, and then maybe overdo the whole haze thing. So if I want to add haze, there should be not just lifted, because you lift all of it, and I would rather have a haze just which is over it, so you get details occluded as well. It's getting munchier towards the back. And then I would define the fall off, so the starting point, the end point on where it's going to be fading off. And then if I want to have an additional gamma function applied on this as well, as you can see here, front and back staying the same, it's just the middle part adjusting. And then go back to those values, which are mostly like 0.1 or something this direction, to just add some haze level depending on, of course, on the context. Then we have something called iteration roll-off, and this is an iterative approach, meaning there are the same mass is applied multiple times. They can define where this time is correct 10 times, I can do it 20 times, and this does nothing else than a luma key from 0 to, in this case, 10, takes the values as a mass and multiply it down by this values, and then the whole thing does it 20 times. So sometimes it's nice to get some more detail back. It depends a little bit. You have to fiddle around a little bit. Not saying it's the holy grail, but sometimes it works nicely, and yeah, I think it's always good to have different tools in the pocket to play around when it comes to roll-off and restoring highlights. So that's the iteration fall-off. Vibrant, it's an approach on a mask saturation adjustment, so I think roughly like this. Let's see if we see a difference. Yeah, as you can see, the sky gets normally beefed up too much in the saturation. So saturation node does a plain saturation across the whole image, and the vibrant has a mask approach, so meaning not saturation parts are not really adding more saturation, so they're a little bit masking with the image itself, which is quite nice sometimes, rather than if you really overdo it. I think if you can see it in here. Yeah, this one gets an overall flat, and this one still keeps a little bit of variety in here. I mean, this is of course way too much, but it gives you the idea on what it does, so especially on low saturated parts in the image. The contrast itself, it's exactly the same as the color track contrast on on the master setup. So if I just increase this one in here and I compare those are the same. And the cool part about this one is that you can adjust the pivot. So normally it's 0.18 or mid-gray, and with on the contrast node you can just decide where the pivot is on which the contrast should be applied on. So same as the color grade, slimmer, blink script, and with adjustable pivot. Then these are some of the gizmos, so let me show you some of the Python scripts. The channel toggle is a thing I'm using over more than 12 or 13 years already, and it's, if I open the properties, it's just to cycle through all the channels. It's just not all channels, but RGB, RGBA, and the alpha, and just go back all the time. So I can, in my case it's set to Q, so whenever comes a node in, I can just do it with a Q and just, hey, set this to alpha. This does work on multiple nodes, which is defined in the Python configuration in the repository itself. But this is one of my tools I'm using really a lot. As you can see here, if there are multiple different settings applied, it's not taking uniform approach, it's cycle each node separately. Cycle lot, I set it to shift up and down, and this one is taking the active viewer and applying, or no, cycling through the existing LUTs. So it doesn't matter if it's an ACES driven or OCRO driven or Nuke's default color management. And if I go to the top one and go up, it just end up down again. So it always cycles through the whole thing regardless, so it goes all the way around. Sometimes it's quite nice, so especially if the same functionality in other tools, we can just really go and change the view what you are looking at. Clear animation, as you can guess, so you can just select some nodes, and I always have it in the tab menu. So clear animation, and it takes the current value and kills the animation on other frames, the entire animation, and keeps the value from the current frame. And lastly, postage stamps. I'm not a big fan of this one since they are dragging down performance quite a bit. So I always do this if I take over scripts from anyone else and have the postage stamps killed immediately. To the menu itself, you see here are all the Python tools in here. Then we have the same down here because I also wanted to have it available in the tab menu because I'm really used to do everything in Node.craft with the tab menu. And down here are all the gizmos. So they are a little bit in categories, which is generating images or modifying images. And if there are more to come, I will do some separation accordingly. And I think that's basically it. If you go back here to the repository, you can download either as a zip ones. I would rather recommend to clone the whole repo, so you can just update it in case you're interested, of course. But even if you're not interested, you can steal some gizmos if you want to, or use this as a backbone to have a clean .nuke folder for yours. We'll try to improve that quite a bit in the future, since I'm using it for myself right now. So I will try to merge all the other repositories I do have. There's quite some on GitHub trying to get it somehow in here without overdoing the whole thing. But then I have one tool that I can just download and everything is in place, set up, and I don't have to do any additional coding, just be up and running. That's it. Thank you very much.